One nuclear weapon.
On the program, Nigeria keen on industrial growth and more collaboration is expected from key stakeholders both home and abroad. Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye receives red carpet reception in maiden visit to Nigeria. Organization of Islamic countries step up cancer interventions among member states as leaders unite against cancer. Rwandan president tasks African leaders on responsive approach to Africa's development, while China and Russia agree to a political solution to end war in Ukraine. Details on these and more stories will feature on Global Update. This is the program that brings you up to speed with stories that had their rounds in the course of the week under review. I am Patricia Esamiluba. Welcome to Global Update. Let's begin with trending stories of the week. Rwandan president tasks African leaders on responsive approach to Africa's development.
Kagame said, and I quote, "Integration for Africa's business community is an opportunity to grow our markets and become more competitive. Africa does not have to ask for a seat at the table."
It is in a business, politics, or civil society. Anything that can be done anywhere in this world can also be done in Africa.
More than 1,000 chief executive officers, 75 presidents, ministers, a host of investors, and about 200 journalists from 73 countries converge on Kigali, Rwanda for the African CEO Forum. In other news, Chinese leader Xi Jinping said he and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin have agreed on the need for a political solution to the war in Ukraine at the end of talks between two presidents in Beijing. Russian President Vladimir Putin said his country is grateful to their Chinese friends and colleagues for the initiatives they are putting forward to resolve Ukraine crisis. Reports said this is President Putin's first trip abroad since his March re-election. And Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico, who was shot by an assailant yesterday, has stabilized but still very serious. The attack, which has been condemned around the world, stoked fear over political polarization or even further violence just before European Parliament elections.
Our spotlight is on Nigeria, where President Bola Tinubu hosted the new president of Senegal, Bassirou Diomaye Faye. The Senegalese president was in the State House, being his first official visit to Nigeria since its inauguration. Visit, it is said that the two leaders had a short bilateral talk in a closed-door meeting, and details of which was yet to be released as at the time of filing in this report. It can be recalled that the Nigerian president and chairman of ECOWAS, Authority of Heads of State and Government, was one of the African leaders who attended the swearing-in of President of the Francophone West African nation on April 2nd, 2024. The Senegalese leader, who is the youngest president on the African continent at the age of 44, had earlier paid similar visit to Mauritania, the Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, and Côte d'Ivoire. Meanwhile, experts in Nigeria's health sector are saying Africa must be intentional about ridding itself of the scourge of cancer before the year 2030. Firstly, by uniting and mobilizing homegrown resources to promoting early detection. Secondly, by the treatment of the deadly disease. Speakers at the just concluded high-level regional seminar on promoting cancer prevention have advocated an in-country approach to the prevention, treatment, and cure for cancer. They also called on the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, to see Africa as a partner in eliminating the scourge. This is the consensus at the third edition of the high-level regional seminar on cancer program and advocacy for member states of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, which was held in Abuja.
My office will continue to partner with all stakeholders to address the challenges of late presentation of cancer cases to health facilities across the country. We will leverage on the existing health infrastructure and other stakeholders, including local and international non-governmental organizations, to reverse the trend of cancer incidence in Nigeria.
The House will work with the First Lady to enact a National Cancer Act to reduce cancer mortality.
African countries must have equal access to the same opportunities as the rest of the world in the fight against cancer, including diagnosis, follow-up, and treatment.
We need to now take action. Action by Africans, action by ourselves, where we will deal with our problems. Let us unite in the mission to raise general healthcare awareness. Together we can do it.
With the disease is what the seminar seeks to achieve.
Despite the dire cancer situation in our region, progress has been made, with 17 countries having introduced high-performance-based screening tests in line with WHO recommendations.
Financial barriers, such as the high cost of treatment and lack of health insurance, exacerbate the situation, leaving many unable to afford necessary care.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's particular interest in cancer care was sequel to bringing to his attention the negative statistic of cancer that we have in our country since 1960. And these bad indicators have never been reversed by our previous successive governments.
Let's pause for a break. More reports in a moment. Do stay with us. Glad to know you are still here with us, and if you've just tuned in, the program is Global Update. This is the program that keeps you abreast of the happenings from around the globe in the course of the week. And moving on, ECOWAS, the European Union delegation to Nigeria, and the National Counter-Terrorism Center, NCTC, under the Office of the National Security Advisor of Nigeria, organized the Suchman Forum on Security and Defense, entitled Road to Suchman Forum on Security and Defense. The forum, which was held under the theme Reducing Vulnerabilities Through Partnerships, served as a preparatory event for the main Suchman Forum on Security and Defense, scheduled for 28th and 29th of May in Brussels. In another development, Nigeria is seeking through partnership in counter-terrorism, not just aid. Minister of Foreign Affairs Yusuf Tugar made this clear in his address at the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars in Washington, D.C. after the closing of U.S.-Africa Business Summit in Texas, the United States.
Speaking on the theme, the evolving partnership between Nigeria and the United States in an ever-changing global arena, Foreign Affairs Minister Yusuf Tugar highlighted the long-standing relationship between Nigeria and the United States, which he described as significant and continues to grow stronger in the aspects of economic growth, security, technology, energy, food security, and multilateral reform. The minister also met with U.S. Deputy Secretary of State to further strengthen bilateral relations. Owing to complex global challenges, Yusuf Tuga in a statement says Nigeria remains committed to addressing the needs of Nigerians. Nigeria as a nation facing climate change, migration, violent extremism, growing polarization, and many more. The minister pointed out that Nigeria needs weapons, equipment, technical support, and capacity building to address these issues effectively. Yusuf Tuga stressed that insecurity in Nigeria is closely linked to instability in the West African sub-region with severe impact on global stability. Consequently, the minister urged the United States and other nations to deem it necessary to adopt a proactive approach to tackling these problems of insecurity, thereby laying a foundation for sustainable future. He called for a collaborative effort to promote democracy, inclusive development, and strengthen ties with diaspora communities, which the minister noted the two countries can chart a new path forward for peace, stability, and prosperity.
Interacting with journalists in the United States, Nigeria's Foreign Minister Yusuf Tuga also gave insight on U.S.-Nigeria partnership in the changing global arena, and while discussing Nigeria's 4D foreign policy thrust, which is focused on strengthening areas of democracy, development, demography, and diaspora engagement.
I think you really stressed the fact that foreign policy in many ways is local, as the security concerns or the issues that we see in Nigeria are also connected to the broader regional concerns of insecurity as well. I wonder if you could, before I open it up to the audience for questions and gather questions online, I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about the 4Ds that you mentioned briefly in your remarks, especially given Nigeria's role in West Africa and the concerns we see about democracy backsliding in the region and Nigeria's current chairmanship of ECOWAS. If you could speak more about how this new foreign policy vision can be used, or how you are leveraging it to position Nigeria to lead in addressing some of the challenges that we see in West Africa today.
Thank you very much. So as mentioned in the speech, the 4Ds are the Tinubu administration's foreign policy agenda, and they are democracy, development, demography, and diaspora. And beginning with democracy, we are Africa's largest democracy with a population of 220 million people. We're expected to become 400 million in the year 2050, so the third largest country in the world. And based on the nature of our country, the way it came about, the way it evolved from people living in the confluence of two great African rivers, trading with each other. Every day is a market day somewhere in Nigeria. We feel that democracy goes hand in hand with free trade and freedoms that are enshrined in the Global Universal Declaration of Freedoms, and which is why we feel it is incumbent upon us also as the regional power to encourage democracy, not just in West Africa, but in the continent as a whole. And we need partners in this endeavor. And democracy, as I keep saying, is a process. It's not an event. So you have to work at it, especially now when it's facing a serious threat. Development, of course, we want to grow our economy using agriculture, expanding our manufacturing base and infrastructure that would create jobs almost immediately. So we want to develop at a faster rate than the growth of our population. Demography, I've already touched on that. We are the largest nation in Africa, to become the third largest. So we need to ensure that our population peaks at the right time, so that in terms of dependency ratio, for now, 70% of our population is under the age of 43. So you can see, so picture, if you will, a nation full of Gen Zs and millennials and what have you, So we need to take cognizance of that. We need to partner again with other larger nations, and we need to be on the decision-making table. We need to be part of global governance, which is why we're agitating to become part of G20, to become a permanent member of the UN Security Council and so forth, so that we can speak out for others also on the continent with a big voice. We are the only permanent member of the African Union's Peace and Security Council. So it's a natural progression. Diaspora, of course, Nigerians are all over the world. They're succeeding, they're excelling, and we need to connect with them to first and foremost help change this negative perception about Nigeria and do away with false narratives, so that people will understand Nigeria better, so that we can partner better with other countries. So that's it in a nutshell.
I'm wondering, what is the President Tinubu's plans on securing Nigeria for Nigerians, and also making Nigeria a safe place to invest, that the security issues, which I think right now are of high concern to many of us, is something that we can manage?
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you. So beyond, of course, training and equipment and getting the Lihi law and others revisited, the Tinubu administration is tackling the root causes of insecurity. And that's why one of the Ds is development. And which is why also we have, for instance, the Renewed Hope Infrastructure Fund, because we feel that one of the major root causes of insecurity is unemployment, restless youth. So, and you see the good thing about infrastructure is, from the moment you start the construction of a railroad or gas pipeline or a road itself, or electric cabling and all of that, you have to employ labor directly from those communities. So that takes people off the streets, off the forests where a lot of these activities take place. But let me also say that we must also bear in mind that Nigeria, like the US, has several tiers of government. So if you look at what is going on at the federal level, then you must also look at the subnational level, state governments, and importantly, local governments. And the Constitution is structured in such a way that it gives part of the responsibility of local governments to the state governments and governors and the state legislature. And so they have a joint account that they're meant to operate jointly. And then the state governments are also responsible for elections. So routine elections have to also take place, because you have state independent electoral commissions that are not under the purview of the federal government. They're not like the Independent National Electoral Commission. And for the federal government or the president or the Tinubu administration to do anything about this, it probably requires a constitutional amendment. And so the problem now is, the $1 million question is, who is the Gorbachev amongst the governors that would agree to unravel their own power structure? So this is where we have challenges.
Here are other stories that made it on the front burner in the course of the week under review.
This is one of China's oldest oil refineries, and the sound of its equipment couldn't stand the test of time. Here in Fushun, the plants are fed with oil from China's Daqing field and Russia's Siberia. Its traditional products include paraffin, solvent oil, and ethylene, and the new upgraded equipment brings a new line of business, jet fuel.
A lot of equipment was replaced by domestically made ones, like hydrotreaters and deaerators. The purity of aviation fuel is of vital importance. It means better engine performance and lower wear and tear costs. We're confident about the potential of this new business division due to the post-pandemic air travel recovery.
Refineries convert crude oil into petroleum products for use as fuels for transportation, heating, paving roads, and as feedstock for making chemicals. In the world of refinery, hydrocrackers are particularly valuable in terms of maximizing production and reducing residual fuel oil. This month, the largest hydrocracker reactor ever manufactured in the world was completed by China First Heavy Industries Group. The handover of the 3,000-ton iron giant, the equivalent of 100 Boeing 737, has broken many world records for forging, welding, and delivery. With a length exceeding 70 meters and a wall thickness of 320 millimeters, welding engineer Julian and his team has performed a consistent, precise, and reliable weld throughout the entire operation.
The reactor consists of 3 tubes, with each weighing over 1,000 tons, so 2 welding teams have to carry out the work simultaneously. Every step and technique has to be identical as the 3 tubes are heated and rotated at exactly equal speeds, like a set of twins. Also, both teams have to ensure the detection and rectification of flaws before they become critical.
The expansion of China's refining sector accelerated for many years to meet its fast-growing domestic demand. Because of the size of the new reactor, it is capable of treating large amounts of distillate to obtain kerosene and gasoline, hence increasing the efficiency for refinery operations.
Hydrocracking reactor design is a proprietary technology, and each licensor having his own specific design based on operating experience, catalyst technology, and engineering expertise. In addition, each reactor's design is somewhat unique in the refining industry due to a combination of process requirements. The project has broken the long-time foreign monopoly on the manufacturing of high-end refinery equipment.
China is becoming more self-sufficient in energy supplies thanks to rising domestic oil and gas production in recent years. However, with more than 70% of its crude oil feedstock from overseas, experts say that refinery efficiency has played an integral role in China's quest for energy security. No doubt, getting the most out of every barrel at a lower cost and with less emission requires more technological breakthroughs.
And that concludes a global update. Let's do it again next week, same time, same station on NTA News 24. Thanks for being part of this episode. I am Patricia Asamiluva. God bless our nation.